The Lankavatara Sutra, translated from Sanskrit by Dasi Tirano Suzuki. The Lankavatara Sutra. And that okay, preface. Let's go to preface. Okay. Let's see, let's go this way. For those who have already read my studies of the Lankavatara Sutra, no special words are needed here. But to those who are not yet quite familiar with the teachings of Mahayana Buddhism, an expository introduction to the principles, theses of the Lanka may be welcome. Without something of preliminary knowledge as to what the sutra proposes to teach, it will be difficult to comprehend the text intelligently. For thoughts of deep signification are presented in a most unsystematic manner. As I said in my studies of the Lanka, is a memorandum kept by a Mahayana master in which he put down perhaps all the teachings of importance accepted by the Mahayana followers of his day. He apparently did not try to give them any order, and it is possible that the later redactors were not very careful in keeping faithfully whatever order there was in the beginning, thus giving the text its still more disorderly appearance. The introduction that follows may also serve as one of Mahayana Buddhism generally. The classification of beings. From the Mahayana point of view, beings are divisible into two heads, those that are enlightened and those that are ignorant. The former are called Buddhas, including also Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Parayatana Buddhas, while the latter comprise all the rest of beings under the general designation of Bala or Bala Prithajana. Bala means undeveloped, Peru or ignorant, and Prithajana, people different from the enlightened, that is, the multitudes or people of ordinary type whose minds are found engrossed in the pursuit of egotistic pleasures and unawakened to the meaning of life. This class is also known as Sarvasattva, all beings or sentient beings. The Buddha wants to help the ignorant, hence the Buddha's teaching and discipline. I can't help but laugh because my brother named my nephew Bala. That's a short part of his first name. Anyway, all the Buddha's teachings unfold themselves around the conception of Buddhahood. When this is adequately grasped, Buddhist philosophy, with all its complications and super additions, will become luminous. What is the Buddha? According to Mahamati, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, who is the interlocutor of the Buddha in the Lanka, the Buddha is endowed with transcendental knowledge, prana, and a great compassionate heart, karuna. With the former, he realized that this world of particulars has no reality, is devoid of any ego substance, anatman, and that is, in this sense, it resembles Maya, or a visionary flower in the air. As thus it is above the category of being and non-being, and is declared to be pure, vitsutta, and absolute, vivita, and free from conditions, animitta. But the Buddha's transcendental wisdom is not always abiding in this high altitude, because being instigated by an irresistible power which inwardly pushes him back into a region of birth and death, he comes down among us and lives with us who are ignorant and lost in the darkness of the passions. Nirvana is not the ultimate abode of Buddhahood, nor is enlightenment. Love and compassion is what essentially constitutes the self-nature of the all-knowing one. The Buddha is love. The Buddha's love is not something ego-centered. It is a will force which desires and acts in the realm of twofold egolessness. It is above the dualism of being and non-being. It rises from a heart of non-discrimination. It manifests itself in the conduct of purposelessness, anuhogasara. It is the Tathagata's great love, Mahakaruna, of all beings, which never ceases until every one of them is happily led to the final asylum of nirvana. For he refuses, as long as there is a single unsaved soul, to enjoy the bliss of samadhi, to which he is entitled by his long spiritual discipline. The Tathagata is indeed the one who, endowed with a heart of all-embracing love and compassion, regards all being as if they were his only child. If he himself enters into nirvana, no work will be done in the world where discrimination, vikalpa, goes on and the multitudinous visirtrata prevails. For this reason, he refuses to leave this world of relativity. All his thoughts are directed towards the ignorant and suffering masses of beings, for whom he is willing to sacrifice the enjoyment of absolute reality and self-absorption. Samati sahabhu tagu ya vivinirana. Oh, man. The skillful means. The essential nature of love is to devise, to create, to accommodate itself to varying, changing circumstances, and to this the Buddha's love is no exception. He is ever devising for the enlightenment and emancipation of all sentient beings. This is technically known as the working of skillful means. Upayakasala. Upaya is the outcome of prana, parajua, and karuna. When love worries itself over the destiny of the ignorant, the wisdom is, so to speak, weaves a net of skillful means whereby to catch them up from the depths of the ocean called birth and death, samsara. By upaya, thus the oneness of reality wherein the Buddha's enlightening mind abides transform itself into the manifolds of a particular existences. There is a gem known as mani, which is perfectly transparent and colorless in itself, and just because of this characteristic, it reflects in its varieties of colors, visitararupa. In the same way the Buddha is conceived by beings, in the same way his teaching is interpreted by them. That is, each one recognizes the Buddha and his teachings according to his disposition, asaya, and understanding, citta, prejudice, anusaya, propensity, adihimukti, circumstance, gati. Again, the Buddha treats his fellow beings as an expert physician treats his patient suffering from various forms of illness. The ultimate aim is to cure them, but as ailments differ, medicines and treatments cannot be the same. For this reason, it is said that the Buddha speaks one language of enlightenment, which reverberates in the ears of his hearers in all possible sounds. Upaya may thus be considered in a way due to the infinite differentiating of individual characters rather than to the deliberate contrivance of transcendental wisdom on the part of the Buddha. All the Buddhas are of one essence. They are the same as far as their inner enlightenment, their dharmakaya, and their being furnished with the 32 major and the 8 minor marks of excellence are concerned. But when they wish to train beings according to their characters, they assume varieties of forms appearing differently to different beings, and thus there are many titles and appellations of the Buddha as to behold calculation. One noteworthy fact about this, the Buddha's assuming so many names, is that he is not only in various personal names, but also given a number of abstract titles such as no birth, emptiness, suchness, reality, nirvana, eternity, sameness, trueness, sensation, etc. The Buddha is thus personal as well as metaphysical. The Lanka here does not forget to add that although the Buddha is known by so many different names, he is thereby neither fat nor emaciated, as he is like the moon in water, neither immersed or emerging. This simile is generally regarded as best describe the relation of unity and the multiplicity of one absolute reality and this world of names and forms. Transformation bodies of the Buddha. While the Trikaya Dhamma is not fully developed in the Lanka, each member of the Trinity is traceable in such ideas as Dharmata Buddha, Vipata Buddha, Nirmana Buddha. The notion of the transformation body inevitably follows from the Buddha's desire to save the ignorant, whose minds are not enlightened enough to see straightway the essence of Buddhahood. As they are not clear-sighted, something is to be devised to lead them to the right path, and this something must be in accordance with their mentalities. If not, they are sure to go astray farther and farther. If they are not capable of grasping Buddhata as it is, let them have something of it and gradually be developed. The theory of upaya, skillful means, is also the theory of Manomaya Kada, will body. This is the incarnation of a great compassionate heart. The Buddha ought to be able to take any form he wishes when he sees the sufferings of sentient beings. The will body is a part of the Buddha's plan of world salvation. This is one of the reasons why Buddhism is often regarded as polytheistic and at the same time pantheistic. The Bodhisattva and his 10 vows. In Mahayana Buddhism, the Buddha is not only the agent who is engaged in the work of enlightening or saving the world, while he is able to transform himself into many forms as are required by sentient beings, he is also assisted by his followers or sons, Putra, Sutta, Arusara, and they are called the Mahayana Sutras. Bodhisattvas are thus the sons of Buddha and apply themselves most arduously and most assiduously to the cause of Buddhism. In fact, the actual work of world salvation, we can say, is carried on by these spiritual soldiers under the leadership of the Buddha. The latter is sometimes felt to be too remote, too serene, too superhuman, and his sight is often lost in the midst of our worldly struggles. But the Bodhisattva is always with us and ever ready to be our confidant, for he is felt by us to share the same passions, impulses, aspirations, which are such great disturbing, though ennobling too, forces of human life. To state the truth, sentient beings are all bodhisattvas. However ignorant and ready to err they may be, they are all Jineputras, the sons of the victorious, the harbor in themselves every possibility of attaining enlightenment. The bodhisattvas who have gone up successfully all the rungs of the Bhumi ladder and who are thus capable of extending their help over us are really our own brethren. Therefore, Mahamati of the Langnika opens his questions generally with this. I and other bodhisattvas, etc. Mahamati is our mouthpiece, voicing our wants and aspirations. This is not the place to consider historically how the conception evolved in Buddhism, whose primitive object seems to have consisted of realization of arhatship. But we can state that this essence of bodhisattvahood is an unequivocal affirmation of the social, altruistic nature of humankind. Whatever enlightenment one gains, it must be shared by one's fellow beings. This idea is classically expressed in the Mahayana by the so-called 10 vows of Samatahadra. The bodhisattva is a man of inexhaustible vows. Oh Lord. Dasani Thapada. Without these, he is not himself. To save the world, to bring all his fellow beings up to the level of thought and feelings where he himself is, and will not rest, not to enter into nirvana until this is accomplished, how infinitely long and how inexpressibly arduous the task may be. This is the bodhisattva, bound to save all beings, which is technically known as Purubha-nihaya in Mahayana terminology, cannot even being for a moment be separated from the life of the bodhisattva. The Buddha, being surrounded by these noble-minded sons, cannot fail finally to release all beings from the bondage of karma and ignorance and thirst for life. With this in view, he always inspires the bodhisattvas with his sovereign power